r/AskReddit by Reddit. Doctors of Reddit, what are some of the strangest, most outrageous reactions that you've gotten from telling a woman that she is pregnant? For instance, shock or complete indifference? Curiosity consumes me. Close bracket. In medical school I admitted a 8-month pregnant lady who didn't know she was pregnant. She simply wouldn't accept that she was, and was in denial to a seriously strange way. I was on my psychiatry rotation, so she was admitted to obstetrics for observation, but with our team following. She thought we were performing unnecessary surgery on her when we did the ultrasound. She didn't believe she was delivering while she was. Complete denial and delusional thought, paranoia. After she gave birth, she refused to accept she had a child, and the ministry had to adopt. It was a very distressing case. To my knowledge she has never accepted the pregnancy. Edit. To address this directly, I have few privacy concerns, because the case was very public. I didn't post this for salaciousness or humor. It was quite a distressing situation, and one I'll never forget. Honestly, it would have been more distressing had she accepted the baby. Someone with untreated psychological disorders to that extent cannot raise a child. My grandmother worked for the medical clinic at her local army base during WWII, and she sometimes got to deliver the news that a woman, usually the wife of a soldier, was pregnant. She told one young woman, who replied, "But that's impossible. My husband has been overseas for more than a year." My grandmother assured her that she was definitely pregnant and asked if she had had sexual relations with anyone else recently. The woman replied, "Well, yes. But you can't get pregnant with nobody but your husband." The poor girl actually had no idea. My great aunt told a kind of embarrassing story about herself as a young wife. She went to the doctor because she couldn't conceive. She talked all about how she and her husband loved each other so much and thought she should get pregnant even with him at war. The doctor told her that love wasn't enough and had to explain what sex was. My impression was that she knew what sex was but didn't put two and two together. When it is your great aunt, you don't press for details, but needless to say, she is strongly in favor of sex education. She's one senior Fox News didn't capture. Friend of mine started having terrible cramps one night and ended up going to see a doctor in the morning with a friend she was supposed to go out for breakfast with. Nurse checks her, makes her take a test just in case, even if she'd never skipped a period. She was mortified when told she was pregnant. The nurse asked her what she wanted to do. She replied that she'd have to talk with her boyfriend. Nurse went to get a doctor because the cramps were still not normal. He comes in, checks her briefly, looks nervous, leaves without a word. While my friend is freaking out a bit, he comes back with 2 paramedics. She's in labor. She gave birth to a beautiful healthy boy later that day. She had just come back from working 4 months in France, eating often in restaurants, so she didn't really worried about having put on a few pounds. She regularly takes pregnancy tests now. After I found out I was pregnant, the drive said to come back in to discuss my blood test results. He told me I was anemic and to eat more iron. I was anticipating more bad news when he said what I thought was, "You have syphilis." I started bawling and wondering out loud if my husband was cheating on me. He looked at me irritated and said, "You don't have to pick it, eat it from a can." What my Indian doctor actually said was eat more asparagus. I was so embarrassed, but when I explained to him what I thought he said, he laughed so hard, he had to leave the room. I can just imagine the thoughts going through the doctor's mind, thinking you're crying because you have to eat asparagus. Probably thought you're the most spoiled person ever. Woo. I have a story that is relevant. So my mom nearly died while giving birth to her first child. The doctors were so worried about her health they told my parents that they wouldn't be able to have any more children for the foreseeable future. 5 years later, the doctors give them the go ahead to have another kid. Things didn't go perfectly with the second birth, and she had to get her tubes tied. There were other medical problems as well. A little more than 2 years pass, and they are happy with their little family, but my mother is feeling ill again. It remains for a while. They thought it was a bad cold, but then she starts craving ice. She only craved ice while preggers. She grows in the belly region. and is pretty sure she is pregnant, but this is impossible because her tubes are tied, right? She goes to the doctor, the one who performed the surgery, and tells him that she believes she is pregnant. He disagrees entirely. He just will not believe she is pregnant. He performs all sorts of tests trying to figure out what it is, but my mother is insistent. She believes she is pregnant. So finally the doctor says fine, I'll give you a pregnancy test, but when it come back negative you have to pay for it. If it comes up positive I'll pay for it. It ducking comes back positive. The doctor walks in the room and mutters, well, you're 7 months along. My mother responded with a classy, I know. Apparently when you get your tubes tied every year after the first one adds a 1% chance of becoming pregnant. There was a 2% of me existing. TLDR. Doctor bet my mom that I didn't exist. Edit. Years later, my father jokes that he has super sperm. I die a little inside whenever he makes that joke. Volunteer in the ER. I had the privilege of seeing a very obese woman admitted with severe vaginal discharge and pain. Turns out, she was in labor and never knew she was pregnant. She insisted that she just hasn't had her period for 9 months because of some thyroid condition. It boggles my mind that she didn't know. What did she say upon being informed she was pregnant? No way in hell. Followed 7 hours later with, her name is Michelle. Changed name. Edit. I'm well aware that hyperthyroidism causes period irregularity. My point was that it wasn't the reason she wasn't having a period, it was pregnancy, and that she was refusing medical advice on the grounds that she didn't want to believe that she was pregnant. I'm not saying she was stupid, I was just amazed that she wasn't aware that she was pregnant from the other symptoms. She had a legitimate health problem that most likely caused her weight and her lack of notice concerning her pregnancy. I didn't intend for this to be a look at the stupid fat person post. It's a case of holy crap, she didn't realize she was pregnant. I guess a baby is extremely severe vaginal discharge. A college friend of mine decided she was going to start working out. To get her old figure back. She was doing really well at first but then stopped losing weight then gaining weight. She was really frustrated and confused. She used to have some digestion problems and thought maybe it was some sort of gastrointestinal issue. She would say things like, feel my stomach, it's hard. My favorite was how she talked about the gas. No, but you can feel it moving around. I've never had gas like this. It's crazy. Stomach pains were starting to be a problem until eventually her dad took her to the emergency room to be looked at. Apparently, when the doctor comes back, all he says is, you're about 5 months pregnant and going into early labor. Of course, she bawled her eyes out and was horrified she didn't give birth that night. She ended up carrying to term and had a really healthy boy and he's freaking adorable. But I remember the first thought in my mind was, geez, how many packer parties have I been to with her over the last 5 months? Not that she was getting wasted or anything, but she was definitely having a beer or two, and the bar we would all meet at gave our free jello shots for every packer touchdown. But everything turned out great. She was engaged at the time, so they took the wedding to the courthouse and all 3 are very happy healthy people. I had gone to the doctor for a urinary tract infection a few years back. Told the male nurse that that's what I imagined it was. Had to take a pregnancy test due to procedure. Hadn't had sex in months so wasn't really worried. The nurse comes back, and I imagine that he may have picked up on my demeanor and sense of humor, because his first words were, well, the good news is that you don't have a UTI, but you are pregnant. I'm sure I turned ghost white, even though I knew it wasn't possible. After about 30 seconds of me thinking about things, he finally said, I'm kidding. You actually know your body very well, do in fact have a UTI, and are not pregnant. I laughed and wasn't mad, had a sigh of relief, even though it still couldn't be possible that I was pregnant. It's just one of those things that someone could tell you, and you'll just go along with, because they are in a certain position that you are not. Still laugh about it to this day, and no, still not nor want to be pregnant lol. That's a dangerous game he's playing. A mother and her teenage daughter came to the ER once. The mother was very upset because her daughter had been complaining from stomach cramps for about 2 weeks and refused to take any meds. After reviewing the patient and not finding any conclusive evidence as to what was causing the pain, the daughter finally gave in and suggested she might be pregnant. The mother went crazy, fainted, had to be admitted and treated for hypoglycemia. Thank you for watching Reddit. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more r/AskReddit videos. Share your stories in the comments section below.